2, review the stride phase. Always stride to the square position. Set your stride foot early and keep your body in a strong position. Keep your shoulders, hips, and knees parallel to the plate. Stride with your front toe at either a 45 or 90-degree angle.
Now that we've established our hitting position, we're ready to start launching the bat. When we complete our stride, and it will depend on whether you're an early strider or you're a late strider, but once we go to toe touch, there's something that occurs that triggers our hands and our hips to start getting to the ball, and that is our heel plant. If a hitter strides on their toe, the minute that the heel comes down, the hands have to be in a strong position to be able to get to what we call the slot position. And the slot position is nothing more than getting the elbow right down the stripe of the pants and being able to stay inside the ball to make contact. And really the next thing that occurs is the hands get ahead of the barrel. That's called bat lag. This is a very strong position when you see all good hitters get into, which generates bat speed. And from bat lag, we continue rotation until we get to the contact point. The other thing is good hitters will create spacing by having a rounded back. A rounded back is important because it allows me spacing to get my hands through the hitting zone. Another key factor is the firm front side. Obviously, if you throw a ball, or you strike a golf ball, or you strike a tennis ball, you've got to hit against a firm front side. You can't let your front side collapse on you. And so the same thing in hitting. The minute we get from that slot position to bat lag, as we continue to rotate, our front side firms up, which allows us some resistance to be able to hit through the zone. A good indication on whether we've had a good, strong weight shift to our front side is by looking at the back heel. We want to make sure that when that front heel goes down and we start rotation, that the back heel comes up, and as we get into bat lag and into contact, you'll notice that the heel's off the ground. A lot of young hitters that don't transfer their weight and keep their weight back, you will see the heel very low to the ground. The lower the heel is to the ground, the more weight you have left to your back side. We want to try to transfer that weight, so what you're going to see is that back heel actually coming up, and as we get into bat lag and into contact, you'll notice that the heel's off the ground. And a lot of times you want to look at the posture of your hitters at contact. As you see right now, my weight has transferred. I'm in a palm up, palm down position, and I'm in a good, strong position to try to drive through this ball. Now obviously both hands are very important to hit with. The bottom hand sets the plane of your swing, and actually the bottom hand is what allows you to stay through the plane of the pitch. The top hand is important because the top hand releases the bat head and allows you to finish your swing. Now let's talk about the top hand first of all. The top hand is a very simple concept. We want to make sure we're in a strong position with our top hand, and we want to make sure that we use a throwing motion, because with the top hand, you're able to release the bat head at any time. And so, as I mentioned, the bottom hand's going to get us on plane, but it's that top hand that's going to allow us to throw the bat head and actually finish our swing. Many young hitters have a difficult time staying through the ball. A lot of young hitters will get to the contact point, they'll take this elbow and force it into their side, and then they'll come off their swing. I see a lot of this in softball. Kids will get to the contact point and they'll hit their back, okay? The thing that we want to try to do is we want to try to stay through the zone as long as possible. And the hand that's very important is the bottom hand. If you imagine you've got a small bat in your hand, and I'm going to go ahead and hit a ball out in front of me, I'm going to have to do something that would allow me to stay through that ball and hit the inside of it. The key is the sequencing. There's three joints that you have. You have your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist. And for me to unlock sequentially, I have to lead with my shoulder, which forces my elbow to lead, which finishes my wrist to the ball. If I get out of sequence and I lock my elbow up, now I become a one-piece hitter where I end up swinging around the ball, or I hit the outside of the ball. And by hitting the outside of the ball, what happens is I hit through a very small area. If I'm hitting the outside of the ball, I've got one chance of hitting the ball. If I stay inside the ball, then I've got a real long area that I can actually release that bat head and hit through. So the key is to lead with the elbow, and one thing that you're going to see with good hitters is that when they get up to the contact point, there's going to be some spacing between the lead arm and the bottom hand. If you see this, obviously what's going to happen is I'm going to get into the follow-through or the rolling of the wrist, and I cut my swing off. For me to be able to stay through that ball for a long period of time, you've got to see the elbow actually lead so that I can stay into the contact zone. Obviously, one of the most important elements in hitting is seeing the ball well. You can't hit what you can't see. So it's important that you understand that the head is an important factor when it comes to hitting. The head starts off the front shoulder in the stance. Once we trigger or load, and as we get to contact point, a couple of key things I want to tell you. Number one, the forehead should be down. The head should be looking into the contact zone. The other thing is I tell young kids is imagine you have a camera, and you have a camera right in your sternum. Good hitters will keep that sternum or keep that camera pointed on their contact point. If the camera or the sternum starts getting outside here, obviously we've over-rotated and we're going to come off the plane of the pitch. So that's another good cue for you. Keep the camera at the contact point. Let your hands and eyes work together. Try to stay through the ball as long as you can with your head down. And if you notice, my head started at my front shoulder and my head will finish at my back shoulder.
To review, plant your front heel and move your hands to the slot position. Keep your hands in front of the head of the bat. Keep your back rounded to create spacing. Your front side should be firm. Lift your back heel. Make sure your top hand is in a strong position. Lead with your front shoulder. Follow with your elbow. Finish with your wrist. Create spacing between your lead arm and bottom hand. Keep your head pointed at the contact zone. Start with your head at the front shoulder and finish with your head at the back shoulder.
I think it's important for young hitters to understand contact points. Contact point will vary depending on the pitch. What I've done here is laid down 3 balls on the ground. The ball out in front of me will simulate the contact point for an inside pitch. The ball down the middle of the plate, as you can see, which is even with my stride foot, would simulate a ball right down the middle of the plate. And the ball on the outside part of the plate would simulate the outside pitch. And as you can see, there's different contact points, which is important for you to understand. If I'm a hitter and I'm going to hit an inside pitch, a couple things have to occur. Number one, I've got to react and I've got to recognize that the ball's coming in on me. So when I see inside, then I'm going to have to make sure that I have a good, strong rotational force that allows me to get my hands inside this ball to get the bat head out. We want to try to control this part of the bat. If I throw my hands at that ball, which some people talk about, the minute I throw my hands at the ball, now I get out into this zone, and it's impossible for me to hit that pitch unless I wait until I get it way out here. Well, if I hit it out here, guess where it's going? It's going foul. So the only way that I'm going to hit this ball fair is to do a good job with my bottom hand, leading with my elbow, and being able to stay inside this ball to keep it fair. But you notice that the contact point's out in front. My barrel is in front of my hands. On the pitch down the middle of the plate, I make contact even with my front foot. At contact, my hands are even with the barrel. And all I've got to do here is if I stay inside this ball, then I've got a very good chance of hitting through it. The outside pitch, if you notice, my contact point is slightly deeper. It's toward the inside of my front foot. And on the outside pitch, All we want to make sure that we do is if we stay inside this ball, then we should be able to drive this ball to right center field. A lot of times, kids will see the outside pitch and they will try to get around the ball, and next thing you know, they start hooking it and they hit a ground ball to shortstop, make an All-American out of that shortstop. So proper mechanics are very important for you to be able to gain consistency, stay inside the ball, and hit the ball where it's pitched. Now, when we talk about the follow-through, it's very important to understand that you don't want to let go of the bat at contact, number one. Number two, you don't extend at contact. A lot of people have a misconception that you want to extend your arms at contact. Well, the minute your arms extend, the bat slows down. You want to try to hit through the ball, so you want to continue through the ball, and you're going to extend after contact, and then the very last thing that occurs is going to be that wrist roll, which puts you in a follow-through position. One thing you might see when you're watching television in big league games is hitters that actually look like they're letting go of the bat after contact. I want to urge you to remind yourself that they let go of the bat after contact. If you slow down the film, you're going to see contact with two hands, then you're going to see extension, and then after extension, many of the hitters want to stay on plane as long as possible, and by letting go with the top hand, it allows them to stay through the zone a little bit longer. So if you're going to let go of the bat, make sure that you understand you make contact with two hands, then you extend, and then if you let go, it's part of the follow-through motion.
To review, to hit the inside pitch, get your hands inside the ball and get the bat head out in front of your hands. To hit the pitch down the middle, keep your hands even with the barrel of the bat. To hit the outside pitch, make contact inside your front foot. Keep your hands inside the ball. To ensure proper follow-through, hit through the ball. Extend after contact. Roll your wrists and finish with the bat around your back shoulder. Always make contact with two hands. Only release the top hand after the follow-through. Learning to connect the bat with the ball can be rewarding and frustrating. Players at all levels of the game continually work on their stance, stride, and swing so that they can walk into the batter's box with confidence.
In the box, you're allowed to really make a difference and take that challenge and give your very best.
There's a lot more pressure on offense. Going 1 for 3 is huge in our game.
Remember, hitting is one of the most difficult skills of any sport. The best hitters get a hit 3 out of 10 times. That's 70% of the time you're failing, and you have to learn to deal with that. So a solid foundation of the fundamentals will help you make the adjustments to become the hitter that you've always wanted to be.